Alright, what's poppin', people? Today we're gonna be going over an NU favorite, Pokemon that, if you played through Sword and Shield NU, you'll definitely remember being one of the best, basically throughout the entire generation. That's Toxicroak. Toxicroak has been a bit of a weird experience so far in Scarlet and Violet NU, because I feel like it's been kind of underwhelming compared to expectations. And that's not to say that Toxicroak's been bad. It's not to say that Toxicroak's only been good. Like, Toxicroak has been great, but I think people expected this to be one of the Pokemon that we basically looked at within the first couple of weeks and said, oh yeah, this is broken. Because Toxicroak, I mean, one, it notoriously looks a little bit unfairly good in early stage NU, because it's, despite the stats, like, you know, you can see the base stats right here, they're nothing that amazing. It's just got such a deep offensive move pool, combined with a really nice defensive profile. The defensive typing gives some really useful resistances to like grass and fighting, and then having a water immunity is always really good, because there's always going to be some bulky water type that you just sit on perpetually, and Croak does that in this tier with Vaporeon. So you've got a lot of opportunities to come in, you've got a lot of opportunities to safely set up and then start wall breaking. But I think Passimian being as good as it has been has really put a damper on how Toxicroak's viewed. I think people still acknowledge pretty consistently that, yeah, it's a great Pokemon. It does a lot of great stuff. It got close combat this generation. That's enabled a lot of success for it too. It's just not as good, maybe, as we would have thought. So, we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to try and spread the good word of the Croak. Of course, if you've been enjoying this content, make sure that you leave a like, comment below what you've been enjoying the most. And hey, I'll probably respond. Anyhow, let's get into it. So we're going to first talk about the Swords Dance set, because Swords Dance Toxicroak has been the most common set, I would say, so far. Like we said earlier, Toxicroak got close combat this generation, and that's particularly huge for Sandaconda. If you do not have close combat, you are not breaking past the stupid snake. You're probably not breaking past it even with CC, but close combat gives you a lot more damage versus it. And so even if you have to just sacrifice your Toxicroak, you actually could end up doing that. You could boost up to +2, and you can go for CC, and if you're Life Orb, you're doing a ton to Conda. Leftovers sets don't do as much. You're doing a little bit more, like around like 30%. Maybe a little over without a boost. It's really, really kind of sad. However, Life Orb sets at +2 are... those can potentially KO Sandaconda with like about maybe 20% chip, so if you get your spikes up, you might be able to one-shot, which is really, really nice. And of course, Gunk Shot, you want the power, you do not care about the accuracy, you're just taking a power, and Sucker Punch is great for priority. Now, there are a lot of alternatives that I do want to talk about. One of them, and it's one that y'all have seen me use before, I like Leftovers on Croak. I still feel like you can get away without a damage boosting item, in particular because you have close combat now. It's sort of how, like, you could go Drain Punch Life Orb in previous gens and be like, okay, I offset the damage with recovery. It's kind of just taking the opposite here, where I offset the recovery that I'm gaining from Leftovers with CC. It's a little silly, but that's the idea. Where I think you still do have a lot of power just naturally now, with CC being a lot more spammable compared to Drain Punch, which is just a little too weak for my liking. I still do think I prefer Life Orb, though. Mostly because of the Sandaconda matchup. This is just this is hard to pass up. But I mean, like we mentioned too, you can still do Drain Punch here. There's nothing really wrong with it. CC's just stronger, and as a result, you usually prefer it. Terra types as well, I think you do have a couple options. So Dark has been what Croak's run the most, because it gives you the ability to wall Bruxish. You already are immune to water, you gain a Psychic immunity that way as well. A couple others though. Fire is actually really cool, because this makes the Drifblim matchup pretty just arbitrary, unless they're like Thunder Wave, but most of them are Will-O-Wisp. With Terra Fire, you can't be burned anymore. That means you can just consistently Swords Dance up in Drifblim's face, get to plus like 5, because, you know, if it's straight Saf spamming, you're not going to be able to get +6. You get to +5, it'll just throw off a Gunk Shot. If you don't KO, well, you can just keep using Gunk Shot till you poison it, man. I mean, come on, not too bad. And then I think another Terra that's worth considering, Terra Flying. Terra Flying's cool because you get the Earthquake immunity to Sandaconda, so this would be especially decent on a Leftovers set, where you Sword Stance up as Conda comes in and then you go for your Terra, and you just CC it in the face, you're gonna 2-hit KO it. If they go for EQ to revenge kill you, then, you know, lol. If they go for Stealth Rock predicting you to switch, then also lol. So it's pretty cool. And then we get the Scarf Croak, and this is a set that's really cool, mostly because of the CC buff. Choice Scarf Toxicroak historically has had to run the bad CC. It's had to run Cross Chop, and that move is weaker than Close Combat. It can miss. It's just kind of a bad move. It's just not good. And Close Combat's huge because now you actually have a reliable attack to revenge kill foes with, which is really helpful. And in Croak's coverage in general, like we mentioned earlier, really nice. You got Earthquake for opposing poisons like Muck, Quillfish, you know, other Toxicroak. You got Ice Punch to potentially hit something like a Drifblim, maybe an Oricorio Pa'u. You could hit that with it. Braviary, Bombardier. A lot of options here. There's not a whole lot to say about this set, and unfortunately, you do have a lot of competition with Choice Scarf Passimian. You know, Croak lost knockoff between generations, so that is a big hit to the set's usefulness. And Toxicroak has never had U-turns, so it can't pivot. Really, the main thing you're going for here is maybe slightly superior offensive coverage, and then a little bit better of a speed tier. So, a couple things that you don't have to worry about compared to if you're running a Choice Scarf Passimian. You don't speed type potentially with Braviary. You outspeed Choice Scarf Bombardier. You don't have to worry about a lot of the Pokemon either that speed creep for Passimian. Some of them might not be creeping for Croak. And you also get a speed tie with Mabosstiff, which is pretty useful. And then also, Croak just offers a little bit of a defensive profile, so if you're running a team that really does desire that water immunity, Croak might be the choice. I know I'd go Terra Fighting because I think you just want CC to be powered up. As per usual, there's gonna be other Terras that are useful. You know, think about the defensive ones especially, you could still justify them. But I think with this kind of set, you do want to try and tap in a bit more into Croak's cleaning potential, if anything. But also, this is probably a mon you're not going to use your Terra with anyway, so kind of just doesn't matter. And then we get to our last set, Nasty Plot Toxicroak. This is also going to be a set that everyone remembers, because Nasty Plot Croak has always been pretty cool for its niche of luring in a lot of Croak's common checks to the physical sets and packing them up with Focus Blast. If you think back to last generation, Sandaconda in earlier metagames, Mudsdale in later metagames, until everyone realized Low Kick kinda did the same. And of course, we've got Sandaconda being super prevalent, so you've got this set popping back up. I like the idea of Terra Fighting here if you run Vacuum Wave, because getting this move to be a little bit stronger when you're looking to clean is really good. Again, I will reference though Flying as a nice alternative, especially if you run like, I don't even know which is better between Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse, but if you run like Shadow Ball, for example, you know, I think Dark Pulse for flinching. If you're on Dark Pulse, for example, you do gain coverage for Drifblim, which is quite nice. You also gain a move to hit Haunter with, you gain a move to hit, what's that other one, Spiritomb with. So I think there's justification here, especially if you go Dark Pulse. You could also just run Terra Dark and you could get Stab on your Dark Pulse, and also retain the defensive utility that Terra Dark offers, which is actually kind of cool. I do like that here. Leftovers is another fine item option too here. You don't necessarily need Life Orb's power, but, you know, I like scaring my KOs, especially since some Sandaconda are running specially defensive EV sets to help versus Jolteon. I think having that extra power might just be desirable. But yeah, I think Nasty Plot Croak, something y'all gotta remember about. Do want to touch on like a couple other options real quick, so I'm just gonna pull up a Toxicroak here. It's empty. I think Choice Band is probably okay, with like the same set as here, except you could justify Sucker Punch maybe. Choice Band Toxicroak, I mean, it's got great coverage just like Passimian does. It's not as strong as Passimian, but like we mentioned, defensive utility, a little bit superior. You have priority, so that's really good. So this is an okay set. And also one that could get mentioned as like sub-focus punch. Oh, never mind, it lost focus punch. Nope, you can't run this, but sub. With like 3 attacks, definitely still a viable option. You just throw some leftovers here. Man, that's so sad. Why'd they do that to my man? But yeah, just run like 3 attacks, go like Terra Flying so that you can stunt on Sandaconda and just set your substitute up for free. I think this is a pretty cool set idea. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this. Toxicroak, like we mentioned, it's not as good, I feel, this generation compared to the others. Which is strange because it got a buff that is pretty significant. It's just Passimian is outshining it really hard right now because what's our other choice Scarf users? Not particularly great options. I mean, yeah, you're probably not stacking Pass and Croak onto too many teams together, so the opportunity cost is actually quite high to running Croak. And Vaporeon prevalency, I mean, yeah, Vaporeon's really common, but there are plenty of teams that don't run Vaporeon. I do believe Toxicroak's got a bright future still within the meta. It still has most of the tools that have made it really great throughout all the other generations of NU, except add on that it has close combat now and the ability to Terra. So brighter days should be coming for our little froggy friend. But for now, might be a little bit harder. A little harder we're accustomed to. Hope y'all stay safe though. Enjoy your day. I'll catch you next time. Peace.